For decades, Michael Douglas and Catherine Zeta-Jones represented one of Hollywood's most enduring love stories, a marriage that seemed to defy age gaps, industry pressure, and time itself. To the public, their relationship unfolded through red carpet appearances, shared laughter in interviews, and moments of visible affection that suggested stability and devotion. Yet, like all long marriages lived partly in the spotlight, theirs existed on two levels: the polished version the world admired, and the quieter, more complex reality experienced behind closed doors. Michael has often spoken about the weight of public expectations and how easily appearances can overshadow the emotional labor required to sustain a partnership over many years. What the public celebrated as glamour was, in truth, supported by daily choices, compromises, and resilience. Their story is not one of illusion, but of humanity, two people learning how to love each other while growing older, changing, and facing challenges that fame can never fully protect anyone from. Michael Douglas, before Catherine Zeta-Jones entered his life, Michael Douglas carried a complicated personal history shaped by success, pressure, and self-reflection. As the son of Kirk Douglas, he grew up under a towering legacy that both opened doors and created relentless expectations. By the late 1990s, Michael had achieved extraordinary professional success, yet privately he was reassessing his life after years marked by demanding work, physical strain, and the long-term effects of earlier personal struggles. At 54, he found himself at a crossroads, questioning how to balance achievement with emotional fulfillment. Despite wealth and recognition, there was a sense that something meaningful was still missing. This period of introspection softened him, making him more aware of vulnerability and the importance of connection. It was during this quieter phase of reassessment, rather than at the height of ambition, that Michael became open to a relationship that would challenge, inspire, and profoundly reshape the rest of his life. First impressions that lasted. Michael Douglas first noticed Catherine Zeta-Jones on screen, struck not only by her beauty, but by her confidence and presence. She represented a vitality that felt both inspiring and intimidating, especially to a man navigating midlife uncertainty. When they eventually met in person, their interaction was not the instant fairy tale many later imagined. Michael approached with charm and humor, while Catherine maintained her independence and self-assurance. That initial imbalance between confidence and caution set the tone for a relationship built slowly on mutual respect rather than instant conquest. Catherine was not dazzled by reputation, and Michael, to his credit, learned to meet her with patience instead of entitlement. Their early exchanges were marked by curiosity and restraint, allowing trust to grow naturally. This foundation, though imperfect, gave their relationship a sense of authenticity. From the beginning, their bond was less about spectacle and more about two people recognizing something meaningful beneath the surface. Building a life together. As their relationship deepened, Michael and Catherine moved quickly toward building a family, guided by a shared desire for stability and connection. Their engagement and the birth of their son Dylan marked a turning point that grounded both of them beyond Hollywood's noise. When they married in 2000, the ceremony symbolized not just romance, but commitment. Two people choosing partnership despite differences in age and life stage. Catherine embraced motherhood while continuing her career, and Michael found renewed purpose in family life. To the public, their marriage appeared seamless, a blending of love, success, and elegance. Privately, they were learning how to balance ambition with responsibility, fame with normalcy, and independence with togetherness. Early parenthood brought joy, but also exhaustion and adjustment, as it does for any couple. Their life together was less about perfection and more about learning, compromise, and discovering how to move forward as a united family. Fame's quiet pressures. While success brought opportunity, it also introduced pressures that quietly shaped their marriage. Catherine's career accelerated rapidly, earning critical acclaim and industry recognition that placed her at the center of global attention. Michael supported her achievements with pride, Yet privately, he was becoming more aware of his own physical limits and the realities of aging. This contrast created subtle emotional shifts, not resentment, but awareness. Fame magnified everything, making it difficult to acknowledge vulnerability without feeling exposed. Public admiration often left little room for private uncertainty, especially for a couple constantly observed and analyzed. The challenge was not competition, but balance, how to support each other without losing individual identity. Michael later reflected on how difficult it can be to grow older in an industry that celebrates youth, especially when partnered with someone still ascending professionally. These pressures did not define their marriage, but they quietly influenced its emotional landscape over time. Illness changes everything. In 2010, Michael Douglas faced a life-altering diagnosis that redefined priorities for both him and his family. Serious illness strips away illusions, forcing clarity where comfort once existed. For Michael, the experience was physically exhausting and emotionally humbling, confronting him with uncertainty and fear. His greatest concern was not his career or reputation, but the possibility of leaving his children without a father and Catherine without a partner. Treatment demanded strength he often did not feel he had, and reliance replaced independence. Catherine stood by him throughout this period, offering stability and care during months filled with pain, fatigue, and vulnerability. Illness transformed their relationship into something more profound, but also more demanding. The roles they once shared equally shifted, creating a dynamic centered on survival rather than ease. This chapter did not weaken their bond, but it permanently altered how they related to each other and to life itself. The weight of caregiving carries an emotional cost that often goes unseen, even when love is deep and genuine. Catherine's support during Michael's illness required emotional endurance, patience, and the quiet suppression of her own fears. While the world focused on Michael's recovery, Catherine managed the invisible labor of holding a family together under extraordinary stress. Caregiving demanded strength that had little room for public acknowledgement. Over time, that emotional compression can lead to exhaustion, even in the strongest partnerships. Catherine later spoke openly about prioritizing mental health, reminding audiences that resilience does not mean immunity. Michael, reflecting on this period, acknowledged how illness reshapes relationships in lasting ways. Gratitude often coexists with guilt, and love with a sense of burden. Their experience illustrates a reality many couples face privately, that survival can come at the cost of emotional equilibrium, and recovery does not always restore what was lost along the way. The reality of age differences. As years passed, the age difference that once felt secondary became more noticeable in daily life. This was not a matter of love fading, but of energy shifting. Michael entered a stage of reflection and conservation, while Catherine remained creatively driven and physically dynamic. These differences required empathy and adaptation rather than comparison. Aging brings clarity, but it also introduces limits that cannot be negotiated away. Michael became more conscious of time, health, and pace, while Catherine balanced ambition with family responsibilities. The challenge lay in honoring each other's needs without guilt or expectation. Age differences do not doom relationships, but they do require ongoing adjustment. Their marriage reflected this truth honestly, navigating mismatched rhythms with care rather than denial. What once felt romantic became practical, asking both partners to redefine partnership in ways that respected where each of them stood in life. Stepping back to reflect periods of distance can sometimes create space for clarity rather than conflict. For Michael and Catherine, stepping back allowed each to reassess personal needs, priorities, and emotional well-being. Reflection offered perspective rather than resolution, encouraging honesty without drama. They handled this phase with discretion, protecting their children and preserving mutual respect. Time apart was not framed as failure, but as acknowledgement that long relationships evolve. Michael used this period to reconnect with his sense of self outside partnership, while Catherine focused on creative fulfillment and balance. Reflection did not erase shared history. nor did it negate affection. Instead, it allowed both to consider how best to move forward with realism rather than nostalgia. Their approach demonstrated maturity, choosing privacy over performance and understanding over accusation. Distance became a tool for growth, reminding them that sometimes preservation requires pause rather than persistence, choosing what endures. When Michael and Catherine found their way back to shared life, it was not through illusion but intention. Reconciliation, when it happens after hardship, is often quieter and more grounded. Their renewed commitment was shaped by acceptance rather than idealism, recognizing that love does not always look the same across decades. They chose family continuity, mutual respect, and shared responsibility over public narrative. Living together again required adjustment and patience, acknowledging scars rather than pretending they did not exist. This phase of their marriage was less about romance and more about companionship, trust, and mutual care. They demonstrated that choosing each other again does not mean returning to the past, but building something different with honesty. Their story reflects a truth many couples experience, that endurance is not about perfection, but about adaptability, compassion, and the willingness to evolve together without denying reality. Public appearances, private truths. As time passed, Michael and Catherine continued to appear together publicly, honoring shared milestones and supporting family life. These moments, while genuine, represented only part of their story. Public appearances are often symbolic rather than exhaustive, offering reassurance without explanation. Behind the scenes, both navigated aging, ambition, and personal fulfillment in ways that required quiet negotiation. Michael spoke thoughtfully about slowing down and valuing presence over productivity, while Catherine maintained creative momentum and independence. Their relationship became less about display and more about private understanding. Public affection did not negate private complexity, nor did privacy signal absence of care. They balanced visibility with boundaries, allowing their relationship to exist without constant interpretation. This balance reflected maturity, recognizing that some truths belong only to those living them. Their marriage, like many long-term partnerships, existed beyond labels, sustained through mutual discretion and respect. Aging with honesty. At 80, Michael Douglas speaks with clarity shaped by experience rather than regret. Aging has given him perspective on love, responsibility, and the realities of long-term partnership. He acknowledges both gratitude and limitation, understanding that affection alone cannot resolve every challenge. His reflections are marked by humility, recognizing the emotional toll illness and aging can place on those we love most. He does not frame his story as loss, but as evolution. Aging, he suggests, invites honesty, not about failure, but about acceptance. His words resonate because they reflect universal truths, that love requires adaptation, that care must be balanced with autonomy, and that partnership is shaped by circumstance as much as intention. Michael's candor does not diminish the bond he shares with Catherine. Instead, it honors it by acknowledging complexity rather than preserving illusion. His perspective offers insight into love lived fully and thoughtfully. Redefining partnership. Partnership in later life often looks different from its early chapters. For Michael and Catherine, redefining partnership meant honoring shared history while allowing room for individual fulfillment. Love became less about expectation and more about understanding. Their connection continued through parenting, respect, and emotional acknowledgement, rather than constant proximity. Redefinition does not imply distance, it reflects adaptation. Michael recognized the importance of allowing Catherine space to thrive, just as Catherine respected his need for balance and rest. Their relationship demonstrated that closeness does not always require sameness. Instead, it thrives on empathy and mutual permission to evolve. This stage of their journey emphasized dignity over drama, choice over obligation. Redefining partnership allowed both to remain connected without being constrained by outdated definitions of togetherness. Their experience highlights a mature truth that enduring bonds often succeed not by resisting change, but by embracing it thoughtfully and compassionately. A legacy beyond romance. The legacy of Michael Douglas and Catherine Zeta-Jones extends beyond romance into shared resilience, parenting, and respect. Their journey reflects a modern understanding of marriage, one that values growth, mental health, and adaptability alongside love. They navigated extraordinary circumstances with care, choosing discretion over spectacle and honesty over mythology. Their story reminds us that long-term relationships are not defined by uninterrupted harmony, but by the ability to weather change without losing humanity. They demonstrated that commitment does not always mean permanence in form, but continuity in care. Their legacy lies in showing that love can exist alongside complexity, that dignity matters as much as devotion, and that evolving relationships can still be meaningful. In a culture drawn to extremes, their story offers balance, a reminder that real love lives in nuance, effort, and the courage to acknowledge limits while honoring connection. Moving forward with grace. Today, Michael Douglas reflects on a life enriched by love, challenge, and growth, with Catherine Zeta-Jones remaining an essential part of his story. Their relationship, shaped by decades of shared experience, continues to evolve with care and intention. Moving forward does not require rewriting the past, only understanding it. Michael's reflections offer a message grounded in compassion, that love is not diminished by change, but refined by it. Both continue to pursue fulfillment in ways that respect their individual paths while honoring shared history. Their journey encourages a broader conversation about aging, partnership, and emotional honesty. Rather than clinging to fantasy, they embody acceptance and grace. Moving forward becomes an act of courage, acknowledging what remains meaningful while allowing space for growth. Their story stands as a reminder that love's truest form is not perfection, but presence, integrity, and the willingness to evolve.